Okay, part two of the Nebraska Prep Zone Report. I've got Stu Pospisil here with me now. Dillon Adams joining you once again on a Halloween afternoon. And we're here to break down the Nebraska High School quarterfinals. They are set after a wild first round. Stu, I think we got to start. We have two games at Buell Stadium for the second straight week. We had an upset in Kearney, but I think we got to start with that classic Omaha North versus Gretna.
Well, I knew it was going to be close. I wasn't quite expecting double overtime, but you know, the play that kept the game going actually was a botched well, it was the Gretna extra point in the first overtime,
Yes.
and the Gretna kicker kicks it flat-footed because he's waiting for the hold. He's already made his approach. He's standing there waiting for the ball to be placed, and he just muscles it over the crossbar, like you'd see somebody in a Dr. Pepper commercial.
It was
But
seriously, it was so funny. It was like a duck just barely over the crossbar. Yeah.
might be how I'd kick them these days. But anyway, so that got to the second overtime, and Gretna scores, and then North comes within one on a Sebastian Circle pass to Donovan Jones, the latter Nebraska commit. And he makes a one-handed catch, gets the leg down inside the back of the end zone, just inside the back. So now it's a 1-point game, and then Circle, Larry Martin calls for the 2-point play. They're going to win it or lose it right there. And Circle's receivers are covered, and the kid takes off bootleg to the left and wins the race to the end zone and ends Gretna's. Gretna's been to the stadium the past 2 years. They won't this year. North is going to go on and play Millard South Friday night at Buell Stadium, 8:00. That could be a very interesting game as well, because you've got speed on both sides. You're going to have some good line play on both sides, seeing Tyson Terry against J.R. Lacona and Millard South. It's going to be a challenge writing that column within our deadlines, but I'm going to make the best of it.
No doubt. It's going to be a fun matchup for sure. And, just going back to that game, watching that stream, that live stream was just wild because, I like where you started there. Cam Brownwell, the kicker?
Yes.
And he's made some big kicks in his Gretna career over the years. And he actually needed a field goal to tie it in regulation. I think he made one on the last second to go to overtime. And then he does that. his standing still kick.
And Bothwell's the last name. And he's
wow.
made some great ones, but again, it comes down to North. It's going to be won or lost, and it was out of Gretna's hands other than trying to stop the conversion. But a good run for the Dragons. Now we're going to see where they're going to be next year. They're probably going to be B in football, I'm guessing. I think the moment will take them back down because of Gretna East. I could see both Gretna schools being B in football, but they're going to have to decide pretty quickly, the school district, if they're going to be staying in the Metro and playing up in Class A for everything, or if they're going to stay B for the state championship events and try and get into a conference. They've got the clock's ticking now, about 1 month away.
Yeah, that is a major storyline, isn't it? Is this the last time we see Gretna in Class A, at least for now? A huge senior class.
Both of those before they grow back into natural size. But again, your conferences, you got 3 choices potentially that are going to have to see if they want the 2. You've got the Trailblazer, you got the River Cities, and you got the Eastern Midlands as possible landing spots for a Class B school. But again, I think once you taste the Metro and you see that competition, you're going to want to stay there.
Yeah, Yeah, that's fair. So, this senior class has been through so much for Gretna. Like you said, they made it to Lincoln a few years, several years in a row there, and it comes to an end right there at the last second, I guess, or not last second, but last play of the game from the
Yeah.
2 yard line. So, you had that running back Isaiah Weber. He was making some big runs in overtime, um, and then the coach, I think, called timeout on that first 2 point conversion.
Oh, right. Yeah.
That was the other crazy thing. They had him stuffed in the backfield, but it almost looked like Omaha North wasn't even like running full speed because of the whistle. I couldn't really tell, but that was the other
Right.
crazy thing that
Yep,
happened
that
in
was a
that game.
run by Jerron Cannon, and the crowd cheered, and until it was clear, as Sam McEwen wrote, that the play didn't count.
Yeah,
So I mean, go from exhilaration to trepidation as to what's next. And again, a couple years ago, they knocked off the number 1 seed when they were the number 16 seed in Millard South.
oh wow.
Uh, Back, I think it was 49-42, and that was, like North scored, or maybe the two teams scored like 5 touchdowns in the fourth quarter, the final few minutes. It was just back and forth. I was at Gretna that night covering a game and listening to the radio or some media coverage of it, and you're just
Sure.
going, yeah, North has had some wild games with Coach Martin through the years.
Oh man. And would you say that's the catch of the year that you've seen, that Jones catch? I mean, it was
Yeah,
insane. The camera
I've
angle
seen,
on that.
yeah,
Sorry, the camera angle on that replay or whatever, it just really showed like Cisco was rolling out to his right. It was 3rd and 14. And it's like, gosh, you have to have this, otherwise it's gonna be 4th and 14. And he chucks it up there, and I thought he like overthrew him by a mile, and somehow he comes down one-handed with it. Yeah, it was incredible.
yeah. I've seen a lot of great diving catches this year. We've got some good receivers out there,
Yeah,
but yeah, that one's the top of the highlight reel, at least for last week.
no doubt. So no, so that was the wild one, and then we had you were at Buell to see Millard West. They defeated Millard North, and with a kind of a special teams and defense trifecta, wasn't it?
Yep, a return of a pick, and a fumble. All we didn't
Yep.
have was a punt return in that one. That's the 4-bagger right there.
Yeah.
If you And I'm not sure any team's accomplished that. I'm not sure in the playoffs if any team has gotten this, but you had John Ferguson with the fumble return. You had Jackson Williams, who I know he's had 299-yard kickoff returns in his career. This one he took back 85, and then Jace
Wow.
Ingridson went 79 with a pick six, and with Brody Peterson and Bobby Joseph scoring twice apiece, it was 49-14 when the dust settled, and Millard West moves on and faces a Grand Island team that has been helped by the return of one of its running backs, Chase Richardson, and they upset Kearney at Kearney
Yeah.
29-19. I don't rule Grand Island out of this one. Jeff Tomlin, I think this is his sixth quarterfinal appearance, and he gets the most out of them. Grand Island, their record this year wasn't real glossy, and again, maybe getting that rematch with Kearney help, but they've got good athletes, and Millard West is going to have to play pretty flawless to make the semis.
Yeah, you could tell how much that win meant to the Islanders, right? Against your rival, a team that you came up just short against in the regular season, lost by 3, was it? It was like
Yep,
10-7.
10-7. Yep.
They jump out in front in this game. I was watching this game too on a stream, and they were up 10-0 in the first half. Bearcats answered back with 16 of their own, and then GI drives down the field. They had a big 50-yard pass play. They punch it in, and really what won them this game though was the pass rush in the fourth quarter. They got home to Griffin. Is it Norchek, the Kearney QB?
Mm-hmm.
He was trying to move it downfield
Belichick.
as fast as he could there in the fourth, and that pass rush just kept pressuring him getting home. So that's what led to the big victory, the upset for the 13th seed.
Yep. Actually half the quarterfinalists went on the road last week. Now, North and Granton was a toss up. Actually, I picked North to win that game because they were higher ranked.
Yeah.
And East and Southeast, good win for Lincoln East, beat Southeast for the second time. They're going to see Elkhorn South in another late game on Friday night. That Elkhorn South has been pretty solid. They've just had that one freakish loss where they gave up, I think, a couple defensive touchdowns to Millard South, 33-0 lost their quarterback Carson Ronner for the season with his extensive injuries. And Millard South bounced back. Jeter Worthley, solid year for Lincoln East at quarterback. Dash Bauman's heading to Wyoming as a running back. That's a good matchup. I'd like to be at all four on Friday night because the one we haven't mentioned yet is Bellevue West and West Side.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, that's the big one too. In the 8-9 game, that was a good game for a while there with Bell West and Papio. I think it was 21-20 at half, if I remember correctly. And then in that second half, they scored 3 touchdowns in about 8 minutes of game time. First it was I believe it was a deep shot to Davon Hall from Kalen. And then they forced a turnover deep in Papio territory, and then right away threw a deep shot to Davon Hall for an 80-yard score, or not Hall, but McMorris. And then the next drive, McMorris took back a pick 6. So it was all within about 8 minutes of time, and they really pulled away there in the third quarter. But
yeah, they put up 3 really fast, and McMorris looks like he's close to full health, and you get 2 long plays like that, one offense, one defense. That could be a backbreaker. And it was a good season for Papio. They caught probably every break in scheduling possible because they didn't beat a team that is in the quarterfinals. So they're staying out of the rankings right now. We'll have to see in the final assessment after the playoffs where they end up. But again, a turnaround, you get 8 wins. That's a great foundation to keep going down at Monarch Land.
no doubt about it. And that quarterback too, that Pirtle, he had a good first half there, and he was finding that tight end. Is it Ingerson? Is that how you say it?
Yep. Another Nebraska flip from Pittsburgh to Nebraska.
Yes, that's right. Yeah,
Hit him for
he's a
one touchdown.
Yep.
Pamaran had a good game too. He's a nice receiver for Papio, and but it's now Bellevue West trying to see if they can come closer, if not knock off the champions. West Side 45-12 the first time. I think that West will have its full complement of receivers. I don't think McMorris played that game, if I remember right, the first time. But
Right.
it's going to take a monumental effort this year to beat West Side, as long as Anthony Rezak's doing his magic from under center.
Yeah, I mean, it was an awesome game for Kalen. I think he needed that to see all these big plays down the field, right? And they also got the run game going too with CJ Goff. But like you said, it's gonna take kind of a perfect game effort from the offense to keep up with what the Warriors bring, with their own offensive explosion.
Well, what's concerning for Bellevue West is they gave up 34 to Papio.
Sure. I mean,
their defense is going to have to try and make plays against West Side's receivers, and you've got Kenyon Cotton and obviously Caleb Benning and Teddy Rezak and Trevor Spady, and the list goes on. And then when Jamez Ross rushes the way he has this season, you talk about passing, rushing, then Anthony Rezak taking off on bootlegs and draws, and they're just so tough to stop. And West Side's got a solid line. I mean, that's they kind of get overlooked sometimes between that and the defense. This is a team that is allowing less than a touchdown a game.
Mhm. They could really dominate you at the line of scrimmage too. Yeah, with all those weapons in the outside. So, um, but looking at the other side of that bracket, if we do get a Millard South, Elkhorn South semifinal, that'd be an intriguing one, because like you said, you talked about it. That's when Rauner went down with that terrible leg injury.
Well, it was the
Yeah,
next week. He was knocked out of that one.
that's
And
right.
next week against Central, I should have clarified that.
Okay.
But
Yep.
he played like one quarter, had a ball tipped, I think, at the goal line. I think Lacona got it and took it in. And I think there was another pick six later on by Millard South. So
I think, yeah, Dylan Cool, one of his many
yep.
on the year. Yeah.
Between
So
Patterson and I, we've seen, I think, Dylan Cool's every one of his interceptions. So,
I
and I
think you
think he
guys
got
have
three
too.
returns.
Yeah.
We're like his good luck charm or something. So, Omaha North, watch out because I'll be there on Friday night.
There you go. Yeah. Watch out for Dylan Cool. So, but yeah, like you look back at that game and it might be one of the wonkiest results of the season. It shouldn't have been that lopsided in the Patriots' favor. I don't think, that's no disrespect to Millard South either, but I think that was Madden Riggs. That was his first action of the season. And he really seems to be fitting in now. It looks to me like he's really gaining some momentum with that offense.
Well, and Brady Bosquet at running back, he's had a nice string of games, and
Yeah.
it's like they've got a nice balanced offense, and again, I think this one comes down to field position, and Millard South with Thompson at kicker is solid there. They certainly have return guys too that are threats to on returns. So again, you got the team that makes a fewer mistakes, and the good thing is I think we're going to have better weather this Friday than we did last Friday. I don't
Right.
think it's going to be as much of an impact as for field position, that unless the wind would come up, but we're talking 65 during the day, so those 4 o'clock games should be pretty nice for fans to come out, because you've got Grand Island at Millard West at Buell, and then in Class B we'll have Scottsbluff, Elkhorn North at Elkhorn Stadium. So those games should be pretty pleasant, and hopefully the temperature doesn't drop that much at 8 o'clock.
Yeah, it looks like a beautiful day on Friday, no doubt about that. So if we want to move on to Class B, do we have any other thoughts on A? I think we
No,
covered pretty much
think
every.
yeah, I've my picks will come out in Friday's paper, but I think the 4 home teams look pretty good this week. Haven't made final picks, but that's why you'll have to go online or get your copy of the World-Herald.
Yeah, it seems to me too, like, yeah, like the home teams are definitely going to be favored, but watch for the Vikings, right? I mean, that seems to be the one that we should circle. Yeah. So as we keep
Yeah,
going into the bracket.
you've got you've got the big four again. Being home teams, you got Norris at Bennington at 7 on Friday. Aforementioned Scottsbluff Elkhorn North game at 4 at Elkhorn. Blair, which avenged its season opening loss, or second for them, it was their second game to Plattsmouth.
Yep.
Scott, and then Hastings goes to Waverly.
Yeah,
And
Hastings and Waverly both rolled. Blair, that was a late touchdown by the quarterback, right? Suckup, is that how you say Bodie?
yep,
For the
yeah,
for
Bodie
the Bears.
and, no, it was Ben Holcomb who got the deciding touchdown early in the
Okay,
fourth.
yeah. To go up 21-14. So yeah, that was a good
Never
for the Bears.
overtime loss for Blair in game 2 for it. It was Plasma season opener at the time. So they go to Scott, and Scott's going to probably be glad to see a new opponent. They've had to face Gross the past 2 weeks. Scott's won 9 in a row. Bennett Turman, back from his mono, several weeks ago, and he had 250 yards against the Cougars on Friday night between passing and rushing. So you got 2 good quarterbacks here, because Bodie Suckup is going to go to Nebraska is a walk-on, and then Bennett Terman, again, solid for Scott. That's a nice game. Norris has been playing well, but Bennington continues to roll. They've scored 211 points in their past 4 games. They thumped Crete 65-7, scored a couple different ways. I think they had a pick 6 and a kick return. And then Elkhorn North got past its rival Elkhorn.
Yeah,
21-21 late in the game, 9 minutes left. Chase
right.
Loft, who's going to be going someplace in another year to major college in all likelihood. And then Tommy Mechna got a touchdown catch for the win. And Scottsbluff reversed its loss at home to York, going on the road to East Hill Park. And Nate Kelly ran for 135 yards and a touchdown, 14-0.
Yeah, they shut out the Dukes. So is that the most interesting matchup you would say in the Class B quarters? Is that Elkhorn North Scottsbluff game?
I think so. I'm going to try and get over there if things work out with other scheduling. You've got Sebastian Boyle, who I don't know what his numbers were. He needed about 200 and some to become Class B's all-time rushing leader, overtaking Ryan Randall from Blair about 20 years ago. So he's got another game. So that could be possible. And Elkhorn North has not been to the semifinals in its previous 3 years of existence. Will this be the time? And if so, they would face Bennington in a rematch in the semis. Otherwise, Scottsbluff with a win would be, in all likelihood, coming back to Bennington, coming back east.
Yeah, for another week. So yeah, we'll see if
Scottsbluff probably wouldn't mind putting on the bus miles if they keep winning.
Exactly. Yeah, they'll take a chance at the Badgers for sure. So if we want to move on to C1, PAT isn't here, but we're sorry about Omaha Roncalli, the defending champs. Pierce knocked
No, they're not
Jackson
defending.
up.
Oh yeah, the defending champions got them. Pierce 34-14.
Yep, for Jays.
And now Pierce goes out to Sydney, which has
Yes.
a playoff game in 10 years. And with Class C1 and C2 finally getting on the right page with having higher seed hosts, it's going to be the Red Raiders hosting the Blue Jays. And, that could be a very interesting one. Anytime you got that road trip like that. You've got one who made another long road trip was Ogallala, and Maverick Binder scored 4 touchdowns on the Indians, getting the winning score with 33 seconds left for a 36-32 Auburn win. And the Bulldogs, who had pretty good success in the mid 2000s with the state title, they're still alive and kicking, and they'll go to Albion to face Boone Central, the number 1 team in the state. And Boone handled one of its district opponents, Columbus Lakeview, 49-7. So Boone's rolling. Auburn had a good win, and again there, I think Boone is just kind of on a mission that they would get the Adams Central Ashland Greenwood winner, and Ashland's rolling too. Dane Jacobson threw for 4 touchdowns, and Drake Zimmerman ran for 3 last week on Shadron. And these Jays are 9-1, and their only losses to Wahoo, which gets Broken Bow, and they ended kind of the breakthrough season. I don't want to say Cinderella for Douglas County West, because they had a couple winning seasons before this. But Broken Bow stopped the Falcons late 28-20, and Broken Bow, which I had won, I think 6 of 7, gets to come east to an undefeated team, and Wahoo's been rolling all season long.
Yep, no doubt about it. So, do you think the Blue Jays can make another run here? Obviously, yeah, they have that tough test to go out west, but then of course if they can pull that off, they would get Wahoo next week, you would think. And
right, that would be at Wahoo if that happened. And
sure.
again, a higher seed you would probably think it's going to be Wahoo, Pierce going to Wahoo and Ashland going to Boone. That would be conventional wisdom, but
Yeah.
Adams Central's like Westside, they just give up very few points. They're the work clock. They don't score a whole lot, but they score enough to win. And
Yeah.
you get frustrated sometimes. It's averaging 30, 40. They're thinking that, okay, why aren't we scoring? That can get under their heads too. Aurora or Adams Central beat Aurora twice, 21-19, and then in the last Friday, 9-7. So, the Patriots out at Hastings, out in the suburbs out there, they'll take their wins any way they can get them. And new coach, and he's kept the thing, the Patriots program ongoing, and one of their better seasons.
Yeah, I can't remember who they knocked out last week, but that was a grinded out game. It was like 9-7.
Yeah, that was against Aurora.
It was Aurora. Yeah, you said that. Yep. Okay. So, yep. But yeah, if we want to move on to C2, we had Mitchell getting their first playoff win in school history. They kind of upset, even though it was a home game for them, they upset the Fighting Counter Booths up there of Bishop Newman.
Yeah, well, put up 500 yards rushing on Newman.
Yeah.
That was the amazing stat, was that
It was.
the defense just got gouged. What was that, 53-19 or some ungodly score?
Yeah.
A great win for Mitchell, who had been in the quarterfinals back in the days when we only had 8 going to state rather than 16. But
Sure.
again, first time they've won a playoff game, and their reward is coming to face the preseason number 1 Chanticleers, and the Chants got past Hartington CC 18-13. Again, that's 2 very solid programs with good defenses. That's one you just want to win and survive. I think Ord, will certainly knows it's going to have to stop Mitchell's running game. If you didn't have any type of scout report before Friday, now that Mitchell has 3 guys that are capable of 100-yard games.
Yeah, so that'll be an interesting one too, to see if they can keep their Cinderella run going a little bit. Other than that, going down to the 8-man divisions, Carter Nelson and Ainsworth, they went down to the 11-seeded Howells Dodge, which that was a tough draw for the Husker commit there.
Yeah, all the way through it was going to be a tough draw for Ainsworth. Yeah. Again, kind of like Papio, their schedule just didn't give them many opportunities to play 4 quarters. You don't want to beat teams into submission. I think they probably have running clock in all their games. And Howells Dodge, Mike Spears, he former coach of the year for us at the World-Herald, and it's like trying to play Doug Goltz at Sacred Heart. They're going to come up with a game plan that can take away a top stud like a Carter Nelson. And Ainsworth didn't score on offense. They had 2 returns for their touchdowns. So Howells Dodge, they lost their running back early in the year. They have a sophomore in there, Hunter Luther, who is just racking up the yards again behind a good offensive line that the Jaguars have put together. And Hunter Luther 3 touchdowns last week, and it was 18-12 through 3 quarters, and then Howells Dodge scored the last 14 points.
Yep, pull away there, and now they go to play this undefeated.
Dundee County Stratton.
Yeah.
They won a state title a couple years ago. They had some very solid athletes, and that's a good draw. That's you've got 2 really potent programs as of late, and I'm not sure that those 2 have ever faced each other, but Dundee County hasn't backed off. They asked for the Colorado State champions a couple years ago on their non-conference schedule. So, again, I wish that the 8-man 1 and 8-man 2 and 6-man games would be on Thursday nights rather than Fridays, so that all the state's media, not just yours truly, would have chances to go see these games, because
Sure.
we'd have to cover the larger schools first. I mean, I don't care if you're a radio station, the World-Herald, the Journal-Star, the Fremont Tribune. You're covering your larger schools first because that's your larger audiences.
Yep. Yep. But I mean, yeah, I mean, it doesn't take long to see the talent in those type of classes too. I mean, yeah, like we've said, the Carter Nelsons of the world and everybody like that. So obviously Nelson was the premier talent in that division.
One of those all time. We
Yeah,
get
right.
probably one or two good 8-man, 6-man players every year. You think of Bajada and Ott coming out of Howells Dodge for sure, and there's been others. You had Terry Keneally out at Hyannis and places like that. So
Yeah.
Dean's Cooler. So and now with all the summer stuff, the college coaches know where to find you, and it doesn't matter if you're playing 8-man or 6-man. If you're a talent, they're going to find you.
Exactly right. So speaking of Nelson, it is Halloween, Stu, and he's one of those scary guys to face. I mean, he's one that strikes fear in opposing head coaches trying to put together a game plan for him. You've seen a lot of football this year. Who are some of the other scary guys that coaches do not want to face or fear facing?
Well, the Bellevue West triplets, Danny Kalen,
Yeah.
Isaiah McMorris, and Devon Hall. West Side, pick one out of the arsenal. Anthony Rees certainly makes them go. Caleb Benning, Kenyon Cotton, Miller, Jamez Ross. Pick a West Sider and put a mask on him, and he's going to make you wince when he says boo. I like Jackson Williams out at Millard West. He may be the best returner in Class A. Sebastian Boyle from Scotts Bluff, has made Class B defensive nervous for a long time. Those are some of those just, off the top of my head, who's going to, put fear in people longer than this year, or going to, Jet Tamala at Millard South. Dylan Cool Jr., he's going to have another year of tormenting passers, and
Marion Jackson too, the
yes,
Patriots, terrifying the
that's a
quarterbacks.
year guy. And Champ Davis at Omaha North, he showed his speed against Bellevue West earlier this year with a couple touchdowns, and Sebastian Circle's going to continue to get better, and we'll see which one of these frightful people, how many make the all-state team.
Yeah, like those are the all-state candidates for sure.
They'll be shifting from Halloween costumes to Christmas attire.
There you go. Yeah. And Champ Davis, he sat out this Gretna game. I think is there a chance that he plays, in the
I have not heard. I did not know he had sat out.
Yeah, he was out, and so then of course they had Donovan Jones making that all-time play, to keep them alive, but they were missing Champ, and so that's could be an X factor for that Millard South game on Friday night.
Yeah.
But, all right. Well, now that we ran through all of our terrifying, frightening players, I think we can wrap it up. Unless you have any final thoughts before we get into the quarterfinals here.
Nope. I won't say another word. I won't say boo after this.
All right. Yeah, we're on a Zoom cast. I don't know if you're dressed up at home or not. I got to get my costume.
I'm dressed as a sports writer.
Okay. All right. I'll take that. PAT and I went through our top 3 Halloween candies. What do you got, Stu?
York peppermint patties, Hershey Kisses, little Hershey bars. Actually, I kind of like I can't remember what they're, the little semi-sweet. I'm a chocoholic, so
it's nothing wrong with that. Yeah, that's a solid top three. I like that. So, all right. Well, I'll let you go. Thank you so much for joining me today, and thanks to all the listeners. It was a fun two-part episode. We had a little state volleyball and the football playoffs continuing. And stay tuned next week. We're going to be back to break down the semifinals and talk about who won some state championships in volleyball. Thanks, listeners.